This is episode 316, and I'm talking to the amazing Christelle Biiga all about visibility versus positioning and how we can build our authority online. Welcome to the Content Queen podcast. I'm your host, Mariah, entrepreneur, storyteller, digital nomad, creator of Content Bootcamp, and founder of Content Queen with over 10 years experience in marketing. This podcast is here to help you create the ideal content marketing plan for you by blending storytelling and strategy. So let's get into it. Hello gang. If you're watching the video, you'll see this little intro filmed in the bus from like the lounge area. Very fun. I'll give you a little pan tour. That's Mitch's desk. This is my desk. Anyway, if you're not watching the video, there will be plenty of tours of the bus on social media. So go follow. Right. So this episode was extremely interesting to interview. I really enjoyed chatting with Christelle. She'll definitely give you the motivation that you need to go, okay, I need to diversify my marketing, think outside the box. Also thinking about, just showing up and being there versus being the authority. And this is how we are going to stand out. People say to me all the time, in the world of social media, how do we stand out with all the noise, this, that, and the other? This episode is going to answer a lot of those questions. So Christelle is the founder of Exposure Maven. It's a premium podcast booking agency specializing in authority-driven visibility for established female entrepreneurs. She works with 6 to 7 figure coaches, authors, and thought leaders to secure top-tier podcast placements that position them as the go-to voice in their space. Known for her refined strategic approach to visibility, Christelle helps her clients turn their expertise and stories into powerful authority assets, building credibility, influence, and long-term brand equity without the burnout of being everywhere online. We love that, don't we? Her work centers on intentional exposure, elevated positioning, and creating visibility that converts into legacy-level impact. Say no more. Let's go to the podcast and I'll come back and we can do a recap. Okay, Christelle, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you on today. To kick us off, I'd love to know a little bit more about you. So how did you get into your business and doing what you do?
Thank you so much, Maria, for having me. It's a pleasure for me to be here and to have this conversation with you and your listeners. So I am Christelle Biiga, known as your podcast matchmaker. How did I get started with this whole podcast booking agency thing? So I am originally from Cameroon. Just in case you wonder where my accent is from, I'm originally from Cameroon, and I moved to the US, to pursue the American dream. I had a dream in my heart to help as many people as possible around the world, and I had no clue how to do it. But I bought into the American dream story of, oh, anyone can become anything. So I said, okay, I guess if I want to make a difference in the world, that's where I need to be. I need to be in the United States. So I moved and I could barely speak English at the time, had no friends or family or anything, but I just took the leap of faith. So if you have listeners in your audience who are entrepreneurs, they know what it means to take a leap of faith. Some of them probably have quit their jobs to start their business, or, some way, somehow they took a leap of faith. So they can understand that piece of just jumping and hoping for the best or being prepared. So I thought I was prepared by having a visa, but it wasn't enough apparently, because I was arrested at LAX by an immigration officer who accused me of coming here to work as a prostitute. So I was put in a detention center where I ended up spending 9 months before winning my case. That experience was traumatic, as you can imagine. So I ended up, working with a lot of coaches such as Bob Proctor, Mary Morrissey. So I was able to experience coaching, and it helped me get over that traumatic experience. And then I thought to myself, this is the way. If I want to help people, coaching is definitely what I want to do, how I want to help. So that's when I decided to become a coach. At the time I was working at LAX, yes, the same airport where I was arrested. So I was working there and was doing great at my job. It's not a story of I hate my boss, I hate my job, I'm leaving. That wasn't the story. But it was just that it was for me the next best move, starting a business, because I came here for that reason, help people, and coaching became that perfect avenue for me to do that. So when I started my coaching business back in 2019, I had no audience. Okay. I had no social media following. I don't even remember if I had a photo on my Facebook. It was bad. But I knew something. If you have a business, if you are listening, you know you need an audience. I mean, you know that, Maria, you help people with that. You need an audience. You need people who want what you have and who know that you can help them. So I decided to get on podcast because I understood back then that it would take me a hot minute to build that audience all by myself on social media, right? And I didn't want to waste that time. I mean, if you're anything like me, if you want something, you want it yesterday. So that was my thought for how can I get there fast? How can I get people to know that I can help them, I can, support them as fast as possible. So I decided to get on podcast. I had no clue how to do that. I had to figure it out. And I did. I figured it out. I started getting booked. And at first, if you have, been a podcast guest, if you have experience with that, at the beginning, you are just too excited to be a guest. Just you say yes to everything and everyone. That was me when I started with podcast guesting. I was just so happy that a host would want to have me on their show that I will say yes to any invitation. I will pitch myself to any random shows out there. And of course, I was getting a lot of bookings. At some point, I was having like 5 interviews a week, and eventually, I was able to understand that okay, not all shows are worth my time.
Mm.
Not all podcasts are, worth me spending time there having conversation and talking about my expertise. So I was able then to start making that difference and learning to research shows before saying yes or before pitching and deciding which ones are worth my time and my energy and will help me get to my goal faster, which was get in front of people who will benefit from my services. So I was able to understand the podcast that can help me do that faster and started focusing on those shows. So in that process over the years, of course, I understood what works, what doesn't work, and I understood the system on when you find the right shows, how you get booked, and what are the shows that you want to be on. And all of that became for me the system that was built out of necessity. I needed an audience out of, I had to figure it out. I had to make it work. So I built a system that I now use for my agency that I decided to start 3 years ago because I saw the need. I saw there are a lot of experts out there who, just like me, want not maybe just to start building an audience, but they want to amplify their audience. They already have an audience, but they want to reach larger audiences. And they know podcast guesting is a great way for them to do that. They just don't want to do what I did, which was figuring it out, right? They want to get on podcasts without having more work on their plate. So I offer it as a done for you podcast booking service. So yeah, that's how Exposure Maven was born.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. Oh my God, that would have been extremely traumatic. And considering, you came to the United States with no English, your English is amazing.
Thank
My
you.
partner is a Colombian who came to Australia, same, no English, wanted a dream of travel and freedom and a nice lifestyle. So I can't relate to your story, but I have seen it very firsthand in my partner. And it's like, I sometimes just look at him and go, oh my God, like, it's so inspiring that he did that, and came to another country to try something different. And it's so interesting. I was one of my clients did a podcast on like English not being your first language and how to navigate that and actually to be proud the fact that you are bilingual. And it's so funny. I had an appreciation of him yesterday reading his book in English, going like, I'm trying to learn Spanish and it's so hard. And it's like, oh my God, like, it's insane. And it's not just the language either, it's the lifestyle, the culture, like all the things that change when you come to another country. We literally had a
Mhm.
conversation today of he's really sensitive, like where he's from in Colombia, they're quite sensitive beings and we love them for that. But because in Australia we can be quite offensive. We don't like hold back on our how we talk. And sometimes I have to be mindful that, oh yeah, he thinks that's offensive. So I shouldn't say that. So yeah, I just wanted to say like that's an incredible story. And thank you for sharing that because, I know it would have been a really challenging time for you. And yeah, it's interesting how all these things lead into where we are now. Like it's just
Yeah.
the path that's designed for us. So you mentioned, yeah, visibility, being positioned. I love all this. I'm like massive fan of, growing our audience outside of our own because, of course, as someone that helps with social media and audience growth, yes, we sometimes can be capped by algorithms and everyone else and all the noise and all the stuff happening out there. And when we look at marketing, obviously we want to have a balance of owned channels, borrowed channels, paid channels, and earned channels. So this is an earned channel, something that we earn. Someone invites us onto our show, we pitch it, but it's that two-way energy exchange. So I absolutely love this. So let's talk about this difference. You talked about being visible and being positioned. And I love this. What is the difference between us being visible or being positioned?
Yes, being visible is kind of like what I was doing when I started with podcast guesting, trying to be everywhere. Right?
Mm,
Not really having a strategy behind it, not really being intentional about it, just knowing I need to post on all platforms. I need my content to be everywhere. I need to, that's what people think of when they think about visibility.
mm,
Of course, you need to be visible. You need visibility, but we start talking about positioning when you become more intentional about where you want to be seen. That's
mm,
where positioning comes into play. You don't want to be seen in random places because you want your brand to be seen a certain way. You want the perception of your ideal clients to be good enough for them to want to do business with you. That's why you want to position yourself in places that will help your brand, that will help you become perceived as the authority, as the expert. That's where the difference between visibility and positioning comes to play. The
mm,
intention behind your visibility. That's like I was sharing earlier. Yes, you can be on all podcasts, and there is a new one every day. Some have an audience, some don't. But you want to also think about what am I actually trying to achieve here?
mm,
And then when you do those visibility activities, you are more selective in where you want to be seen because you know that, for example, by me coming here on your show, I know your podcast is credible. So
mm,
your listeners, your subscribers, because there are thousands of them, millions, right? So now if I associate myself with your platform, I'm seen a certain way.
mm,
That's positioning. You don't just want to be visible for the sake of visibility. You want to be intentional and be selective. That's where also research comes to play. I will speak a lot about podcast guesting here on this show because that's my lane. But when you, for example, decide to get on podcasts to be more visible, yes, that's a great way to be more visible, to amplify, to grow, to reach a larger audience than your current network. Even then, you have to be intentional, selective. You want to research shows to ensure that those shows will help you achieve your goals faster. If your goal, for example, if you are no, let's say you're a coach, you wrote a book and you want as many people as possible to have a copy of that book because you know it's your lead generation tool,
mm,
you want to decide what type of podcast will help me achieve this. Where is the audience that needs this book? Then you research those shows. And those are the shows you want to be on. You don't just say yes because someone invites you. They can invite you to be on a podcast. You always want to research that because you want to be intentional. Visibility for the sake of it doesn't help, doesn't serve you. It can even harm you. So you want to really, that's where that's the difference between visibility
mm,
and positioning.
mm,
Positioning is more intentional, more strategic, and it comes from research and being clear on your goal. Why are you performing this visibility activity? Why are you posting on social media every day? What is your intention?
mm. I love that. I am all for that. I literally had a conversation yesterday about this, about, why are we on these channels? Because everyone has a different goal and everyone has a different purpose. And if we're not really clear on that, we can also get stuck in this void of like, oh, what everyone else is doing. Oh, but everyone else is on this doing this and everyone else is doing that, but doesn't mean it's the right activity for you. And I think this also happens with, yeah, being on all the channels on social media and just like repurposing and throwing stuff up everywhere. It's kind of just like creating noise for the sake of creating noise, not going, oh, these are the places that I need to be. And also with that, and this is probably something that you talk about with your clients, is what is the goal of being on that show and like what you want to offer? Because of course, like, yes, we can give our time for free on someone's podcast, but we also want to be really clear on how we can help that person. And it's not just from the sake of like generating income. It's like, as you said, when you came to the United States, you wanted to help as many people as possible. And to do that, we have a service. And obviously, in exchange for that service is an energy of money. But it's how, they say like selling is service rather than like, oh, well, I'm selling to build revenue. So when you're talking with your clients and prepping them, how do you what do you do to get them really intentional with what they want to do on the podcast? I've had clients say to me before, I'm on this podcast, like, what should be the main objective or the key message? So can you just take me through that a little bit around, yeah, how you prep someone to go, okay, this is the key message, or this is what you want to offer, or what do you recommend your clients think about when because there's a matter of, researching and being intentional with the show, but then there's also the interview of like, what do you want to get out of that as well?
Okay, so since my offer is really done for you,
Mm,
it's not a coaching program, it's really we do it for them. The process with my clients is really simple. When they become a client, let's say today you sign up, you become a client, you have an onboarding questionnaire that you complete. And in that onboarding questionnaire, do you start thinking? Because the questions make you think. You have questions about your backstory, your business, your expertise, the topics you speak on, your goal with getting on podcast, and your offer.
mm,
When you complete that onboarding questionnaire, then you have a strategy session with me. And the strategy session, we go over what you put on that form. And then we discuss those things. That's when now I can really guide you based on what you put there, based on your story, based on what your business is about, based on your goals, based on the topics that you want to speak on. I can even guide you because sometimes people are still not clear on their messaging. I can help you in that space because once I have that information from your questionnaire, I know better because
mm,
of my experience how to guide you to get the most from your interviews. And the call to action is key. It's critical. Sometimes I have clients say, well, it depends on the show, will offer something. That works. I mean, if you have different offers, why not? But now the thing is, we are the one pitching you to shows. We are the one providing those resources to host with your links and everything. Sometimes when people say I can offer different things, it's just confusion. And usually it's that. They
mm,
don't know what to do. They say, oh, well, whatever. No. So in that strategy session, I help you really narrow down a gift, at least one that will make sense because of your expertise and the type of shows that we'll be booking you to. Because your audience, you don't have 10 audiences.
mm,
Come on. You serve a specific group of people, you help them achieve a certain number of things. So, based on the results that you offer your clients, we will find the shows that have audiences interested in that type of results. So, we will come together to vision that this gift or this call to action will help those people come to you faster and easier.
mm,
Because as you mentioned, you have to be strategic. You don't want to be out there just for the sake of it. You want to really know again, why am I getting out there? Why am I putting myself out there? Is it for the fun of it? Cool, go have fun. Is it because everybody's doing it? Fine, follow the crowd. But is it because I want to grow my business? Is it because I want to grow my email list? Is it because I want to generate more leads? Is it because I want to make more sales? Is it because I want to sell more books? Then have your call to action help people get closer to that goal,
mm.
right? So that's really what it is about. You have to, even when you post on social media, you need a call to action. Don't
Yes.
just speak to people to sound smart. Okay, now they know you are smart, then what? You
Mm,
have to give them the next steps that help them get closer to what they want and that you can help them achieve. That's really important.
yeah. Yeah, we needed that message from you today because I think a lot of the times, and it's so funny, like when I'm having meetings with clients and going through, what works, what doesn't, etc. And they're like, oh, when we tell people to go to our website, like they kind of do. And it's like, yeah, that's what we want to achieve, right? Like I think
Mhm.
often now in the world of content creation, influencers, content creators, we get so caught up in the creativity of content creation and the funness of it, which is great. And like and it can be a creative outlet for a lot of business owners for sure. But I think a lot of us hide behind the fun content without, getting really clear on, because a lot of us don't feel natural selling and selling our services and our offers because yes, we have all those limiting beliefs and those blockers around asking for money and our worth and what if it's not as good as quality as they expect and all these things that run over in our head. So we often avoid it. And I actually have been having this conversation with a lot of entrepreneurs that have come on the show around the fact that yes, we can be really consistent on social media, and it's kind of going to the point of what you're saying now. It's like, yes, we can build consistency. I think a lot of us do show up consistently, but we're still not getting the results, and we're kind of wondering why. But it's because we're hiding behind other pieces of content for one, but also because we don't truly believe it works and we don't believe in what we're putting out there because there is this kind of blocker around, showing up and being visible and all things. And that's why I've had lots of interviews with mindset people because I think it is definitely a blocker. But then also at the same time, I love what you're saying around like having that intention and that goal because when we know why we're being on these shows, we go, that is my focus, that is my key message, that is what I want to deliver. We get on the show with that intention rather than like, oh, I could offer this, or I could tell them about this, or I could, and like, I think that's where prep and, yeah, getting prepared really helps. So, what do you recommend for entrepreneurs that are looking to, yeah, be more positioned, not visible, be positioned, to do in the lead up and the research of, sorry, you're doing the research, but in the lead up to going on these shows, how can they prepare themselves better?
Yes, definitely preparation is key. I mean, you have to research the show you research the show, that's what you pitched. But before when they say yes, you want to go again and try to listen to at least one conversation. You want to be prepared also in terms of getting clear on what message you want the listeners to go home with, right? For example, if you're listening to this conversation today, I want you to go home with the belief that leveraging other people's audiences is the fastest way for you to generate more clients and sales. Period. Your existing audience might be huge, but not all of them are may even seeing your content on social media. Get on podcast. That's my message today. Get on podcast, leverage other people's audiences, and grow faster that way. Now, what does that look like? I have a gift actually that I will share with them at the end of this conversation that will help them fast track the process. Because again, remember, I'm about leverage and going fast because when I want something, I want it yesterday. So to help the listeners, if you're listening to this conversation, to help you fast track your process, if getting on podcast is on your to-do list, I have this guide that I call your podcast guesting playbook that shows you exactly what you need to do when it comes to podcast guesting, how to find the right shows, where to find them, a list of 100 plus top tier shows that you can start pitching right away, how to pitch effectively to get yeses. I mean, it has all the things for you to start getting on shows. Prepare by also learning how to share your message. It's
Mm.
really something that people think. Sometimes I hear people say, "Oh, I can talk all day long, so I can be on podcast." It's not about talking all day long. You have to be intentional about what you're saying. Always think about the listeners. Always think about what is in it for them. It's not me. It's not just, "Oh, I enjoy having conversation." It's not about you. If you enjoy having conversation, just chat with your friends. If you're going on a podcast, remember, thousands of people are listening. What is in it for them? What are they going to walk away with? That's part of the preparation. You don't want to just come in and wing it because, well, I love talking. I know it's going to be fine. Yes, you can have a conversation. But if you're a business owner, if you're serious about using it as a leverage point to get people to you, your ideal clients coming to you, you want to know that when I go on that podcast, what do I want the listeners to go home with? What do I have for them? If they don't remember my name, what is the one thing I want them to remember? I will say that again. I want you to remember that podcast guesting is the fastest way for you to grow your audience, grow your visibility, amplify your authority, and get clients.
Mm.
Forget my name, but remember that.
Oh my God, you're the best. I love this so much. It's true. It's so true. And I think as you're saying, I love a chat. I get it. But yes, you have to be really clear on what you want people to take away with. And also in saying that, like it depends on the host too, right? Because I've been on podcasts, like I always try and send the questions to the guest. I don't always, like you can tell, I have not gone to my questions, but you get a feel for where I want to go with the interview, right? So you can
Mm-hmm.
prepare your key messages ahead. But there are
Mm-hmm.
some like I've got podcasts that, yeah, I've got one tonight. I'm a guest on, unless you sent it to me soon. I haven't got any questions for it. It's fine. That's okay. Because I can come into it from like, okay, what do I want to share and what's my key message? But you're not always going to get a host that's going to tell you the direction of the show and then you can tailor your key message. Sometimes you're going to have like question, like I've thrown a few curveballs at you that weren't in my question list, right? So because you're so clear on your key message and what you want to get out of there, you're always you're always going, okay, yep, that's what I want people to learn. So you're going back to that message all the time. This is what really good like politicians do, right? They've got like, this is the key message. So I want to like divert people back to that. I've got a voice and public speaking coach that I work with, and she's really good at helping you with that as well. So as you're saying, it's not just about like knowing, yes, I could talk with someone on a Zoom call, no worries, easy. It's about, yeah, what I want people to get out of this and trying to go back to that key message. And that's what's made me interviewing you so amazing, but also this podcast a really good one to listen to because you're really clear on what you want to say. And I absolutely love that. So I just wanted to point that out because you're
Thank you.
totally right. We're always like, oh, I could just chitty chat all day with you, but
Yeah.
it makes for a confusing episode, doesn't it? And as a podcast host, it can make it like if there are different directions of the podcast, great, like it is cool, but it is really easy to put together, to edit, to make it a really great show when there is that
Mm.
kind of clear direction. So anyone listening, take note of this interview as like a what to do when you're on a podcast. Amazing. So I am going to try and get to some of my questions over here because,
Let's
they
go.
were good ones, let's be real. But to be honest, you've answered a lot of them in your amazing key messages anyway. So that is great. Um, you talked a little bit before about like being everywhere, that is being visible is not always the best way to go and being really intentional. Let's go towards this fact of yes, like people are showing up on social media. They feel like they have to be on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, all the places to kind of get that visibility. How can we leverage our social media and or whatever other things we have? Some people have podcasts, blogs, YouTube, but also go, okay, cool, I've got these channels, but I want to focus a bit more energy on other people, like this earned media. How do you recommend people kind of complement those two together? So your own content, your own channels, but then also like if you've been on these great shows, you've got all this content that you want to use as well, right? Like I'm sure you
Mm.
have clients that have been on many, many shows and it's like, and this is a thing as well. I always find some guests like you you say, oh, the podcast has been out, like thank you so much. And then you don't hear from them and they don't use that content. And I think that's crazy to me because
Waste.
like, yeah,
Such a
right? Like
waste.
it's such a waste of time. So how do you recommend we leverage, kind of where we're at and what we've done in our podcasting to sort of create a nice harmony as well? Because if you're doing key messages on these podcasts, but then your social media is not really matching up, I can find it would be a bit confusing for
Mm.
people as well.
Yes, absolutely. So you have to be clear even when you go on, so you post on social media. You have to be known for something.
Mm,
When you post on social media, yes, it's fun. It's a place where people go to socialize, but also do business. So you want people to know you for something. You cannot speak to everything or not. You don't want to be vague.
mm,
People forget vague. You want to be memorable. Your message has to make you memorable. So you have to be clear on what you want people to know you for. What do you want to be known for? When you post on social media with that intention, every piece of content will come from that place. If somebody sees this post for the first time ever, they have never seen me, they don't know anything about me, will they know exactly what I do? Will they know exactly what I am here for? Will they know exactly how I can help them? Will they know exactly if I am for them or not? It has to
Mm.
be that clear. For example, I'm known as your podcast matchmaker. People tag me randomly on posts on social media or in groups. They tag me randomly because they saw somebody post something about looking to be on podcast. They tag me. And I just see tags and I go, oh, thank you. Because they know it's clear in their mind. There's no, well, she says something about podcast, but we don't know. No, they know that if
Mm.
somebody wants help getting booked on podcast without them having to do it themselves, I'm the person. So they tag me. So you want your content to be that clear that people that even if they don't work with you, they know that when they hear your name, when they see your content, they know and they remember you so well that when someone says they're looking for someone who does what you do, people know right away it's you. People
Mm.
come under my post and tag their friends. Oh, you need to check this out. You need to, because they know, oh, this speaks specifically to a problem that Maria mentioned to me yesterday.
Mm.
But if your content is vague, if you don't stand strongly on the thing that you want to be known for, people are confused and they don't know what to do with your content. That's the first step. You have to really be crystal clear on what you want to be known for. Yes, you might have 10,000 gifts and talents, we all do, but you can use it differently. For example, in my podcast booking packages, I can serve different audiences, right? So, but when I decide to speak to one of the audiences, I speak to them for a whole week and I name them specifically.
Mm.
For example, right now I'm speaking to entrepreneurs who have a book.
Mm.
I'm speaking to them and telling them if you have a book, you don't want it to be sitting on Amazon and just for you say, oh, I am an Amazon best-selling author. Get on podcast and leverage that book for your business. I'm saying it over and over again so that if you're an entrepreneur, you have a book, you know this is for you. That's clear. If next week I speak to authors, the fastest way to sell your books is to get on podcast because that's why all New York Times bestsellers do. They go on a podcast tour when they want to win the New York Times bestseller. There is a reason.
Mm.
I will speak to the authors for days, for a week at least, so they know I'm speaking to them. You have to be that clear. First thing, now we're talking about other when you have all those options. You can be on all those platforms. Again, you have to be selective. Where are your people? Your audience is not everywhere. No, they're not. You know where your audience is. If, for example, you serve corporate people, you know where to find corporate people. You go on LinkedIn, everybody knows that.
Mm.
So that's how, even when you decide on where to post, you don't post that because someone is telling you, oh, I'm crushing it on Instagram. If your people are not on Instagram, just be happy for them and move on. Don't feel like you need to be everywhere. You have to know where your people are and go there to
Mm.
have conversations with them. And when you have, when, for example, you have this podcast interview, you can repurpose it, right? In different ways. You can use it. But again, it will not make any sense for you to speak to people who don't need what you offer. It's going to be visible for the sake of it. You'll be making noise. You have to position yourself in the right groups. There are a lot of groups on social media where your people hang out. Show up there and speak to them. You have to have your content crystal clear on what you want them to know you for. If they meet you, yesterday I had someone reach out to me on my DMs. She said, I'd never seen your content. I don't even read things on social media, but your post showed up on my feed and I DM'd you because it spoke directly to her. It was that clear. It
Mm.
wasn't a story that I was telling that didn't lead anywhere. No. So those are the few things that I can share.
Mm. I love that. So good. And I think I've had clients over the years as well. I think what happens with these social media channels is we want to conquer them. Yes, like it's that vanity, that dopamine hit of like followers and numbers and all of that. And I had one client years ago who was like, "Oh, Instagram doesn't really work for me, and I feel like it should work because it works for everyone else." And then we looked at her metrics, obviously her audience, and it was like, hang on, like, on YouTube, you have like all these people coming to your website and downloading your lead magnet. Just like, I really like YouTube. let's let's do more of that then, and then like it just helped to like clear that mindset. And I think because of all this noise on social media about, oh, you have to jump on TikTok because it's, the biggest growing platform in the last like 10 years, 5 years, whatever it is. I think 5 or 6, 7 years, maybe even 10 now. I feel like the years are going so quickly that 10 years ago it was only 2016 and I was, anyway, crazy. Um, so yeah, it's kind of like, oh, but you get kind of sucked into that shiny object of like, oh, this looks good. But I love what you're saying around like, be on those places where your audience hangs out, be really intentional and speak to them directly, because that is always the content that resonates. Like, oh, I felt like that was you were talking to me. Like when you get those types of posts or those types of feedback from people, that's when you know you're hitting the mark, right? That's when you know you're really resonating with those people. And I love what you're saying around like, I know so many people that listen are like, oh, I could do this and I could do that. I could talk about this and I could talk about that because this leads to that. And yes, of course it does. Like, of course it all makes sense. And we all are complex humans. We're not very like, okay, I just do this one thing and this is, but like you're saying, you can have different marketing activations that speak to the different things that you can do at a specific time, but you need to talk about it more than once.
Mm.
Like I'm sure you've seen it, like people go, oh yeah, I shared that. Didn't you see that? I talked about my workshop and it's like one post on their Instagram feed or like one story and you're like, yeah, cool. Because millions of people see that, right? And the conversion rates are like 2 to 3%, right? I mean, probably higher for us because we are small business owners, we're more connected. It probably should be higher, but it's like, if you think about that conversion, you need to talk about it as much as possible. And now it's like 7 touch points, 4 channels, and 11 hours of research before someone will make a purchasing decision. So it's like, you got to talk about it more. And so I love what
Mm.
you're saying around like, okay, cool. For this period of time, I want to market to, authors and people that are writing a book. So like, let's go to town on that and evaluate the success of that. And then we move on to
Mm.
something else. And I think that paralyzes people who have sort of different segments that they do want to work with. They're not sure how to piece it all together. And that's why I always talk about, marketing activations or campaigns that you can create for those specific times to test, right? Just because you talk
Mhm.
to that author doesn't mean you're not going to have other people that come like, oh, hey, I hear you do authors, but I'm a coach. Like, could you help me? And you're like, yeah, happens to me all the time, right? Like
Mhm.
even on my social media, I actually don't market my services, my one-on-one services. I market more my education stuff. Still get people that message me. Also, because what you're saying, like podcast matchmaker, my name is Content Queen, right? Like it's very
Mhm.
clear what I do. It's very
Exactly.
obvious what I help with. So it's like I don't shut people out because I don't technically market to them on my Instagram. I get people like all
Mhm.
the time. Or you get someone like, hey, Mary recommended me to you. Can you help me? This is my business. Cool, let's get on a call. Let's see if I can help you. You know what I mean? It happens a lot, and I don't even
Mhm.
really share that I share behind the scenes and like what I do and stuff, but I don't go, hey, got some retainers if anyone wants them, because it's really
Mm.
when you're clear on your message, people kind of get what you do and they're gonna
Yeah,
ask anyway, like, hey, do you do this? Like, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it's because your messaging is really clear. I absolutely love that. Now, one thing I want to just quickly touch on before we leave, there is this concept like you're talking about like being an expert, a thought leader, kind of creating this positioning of yourself. What do you obviously you'd have people come to you that they know they want to be on podcasts, but maybe there's this kind of like mindset shift in them that's like, am I the right person, or am I the expert? What advice would you give to people that are kind of not positioning themselves as an expert in their space and they're kind of don't feel they're ready to be on podcasts or they're ready to really position themselves as that expert in their industry?
My experience, I mean, the clients that I've worked with so far, they are often established entrepreneurs and coaches and experts. So they feel confident about what they do. They feel
Hmm.
confident that their offer is valuable, their service is valuable, and what they're doing is actually changing lives. But if somebody's thinking, well, am I even? I will say you mentioned mindset work earlier. You get to decide. Nobody's going to come and tell you you are the leader here.
Hmm.
You get to decide that, okay, I am going to lead myself and I'm going to be leading other people. Whatever your industry is, whoever you see as a leader decided to become a leader. Nobody gave them that title. It's not a promotion. We're not working for nobody here. We say, oh, you worked hard enough. Now you get to become the leader. No, this is not corporate. This is your life. This is your business. You get to decide. So leave that, stop entertaining that conversation. You're ready? If, how do you know? How do you know you're an expert? And how do you decide to become a leader in your space? Have you helped people? Do you have clients who are grateful that they found you? If the answer is yes, then you can decide that, okay, if I have done it for 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, I'm ready to share this with thousands of people.
Mm.
That's a decision that you make. I mean, there is really no go read this book. I wish I had a guide that would no, but I want you to really become a leader first with in your mind, because thought leadership is not a title that or a promotion that nobody gives you. You get to decide. So it comes down to your self image. Can you imagine me starting getting on podcast back in 2019? That was 3 years after I moved to the States. My accent was way stronger and my English probably wasn't the way it is right now. Can you imagine me entertaining that conversation and saying, well, my English is not that great. People will not even understand my accent, yada, yada, yada. I would have not done nothing. But I decided that I'm ready. I decided that I will have those conversations with Americans, with my accent, and I decided that the right people will understand it, and they did.
Mm.
They did. I can't tell you how many people have messaged me over the years on social media, saying they heard me on a podcast. I don't even remember I was on, but they remember me. So, yes, it doesn't matter. I can have that conversation of, oh my gosh, my accent, oh my gosh, my English. I can have, but I decided. So, you get to decide that you are ready to show up at the leadership level, and that your ideas, what you have learned or what your experience have been so far is worth being known and heard by the world. Because you want to think big. Podcast guesting is really speaking to the world. This is a world stage. I want you to see it that way. I hope this is not scaring you further, but that's what it is. Because you don't know who is going to listen to this conversation.
Mm.
Probably people in England, in Canada, in the US will be hearing this
Mm-hmm.
conversation. So this is a
Yes.
world stage. That's the power of podcast guesting. So this is really for people who see themselves as leaders, who believe that their ideas are worth being heard, that their message as is worth being shared.
Mm.
So show up that way. That's it.
I love that. And I love that you share about, kind of this limiting belief around accents and English and all the things. I'm at the moment living in a share house with 5 Colombians. And one of the girls here, always apologizes for her English. I said, don't. I understand you. And the people that don't, they're not listening. That's what
Mm,
happens. When you're listening to your native language and you kind of can tune out because you're getting the information of what someone's saying. I said, that's what's
mm,
happening to you at work. People are just like, they're not expecting the accent. So they're just kind of half listening. And then they say, oh, they don't understand you. It's because they're not listening. We can
mm-hmm.
understand people if we listen. And that's the thing. If
Absolutely.
you're on a podcast, someone's listening to what you have to say, they're going to understand what you have to say. I say this to my partner all the time when he comes on my podcast because I make him come on, and he always edits it. And he's like, oh, I said that so bad. I did this, I did that. And I said, like, you just got to keep doing it. So I'm going to
Yeah.
make him, well, he's going to edit this episode. So it's going to be great because this is going to really help him. Mitch, when you're editing this, take notes. But it's true. You can't let those things get in your way. And even with the thought leadership stuff, oh, someone knows more than me, or so, but someone's not going to teach it in your way, or someone's not going to share it in the way that you share it. Like, there's a gazillion marketers in the world. Like, there's actually more marketers than anything, right?
You
And I
decided that you're the queen. That's it.
exactly, and you know what's so funny? I did that in 2019 when I started my business, and there was just no fear, right? Like, it's that kind of like beginner's mindset, right?
Mm,
And now looking back, I'd probably be like, oh my God, why did, like, how did I label myself that so quickly? It
mhm.
worked.
That's
And you
it.
know, and you got to own it. And like as you said, no one's coming to put that title on your LinkedIn or in your bio. Like no one is coming to help you with that. And I love what you say. Like if you have helped people, you've seen transformation, you know, and you really trust in what you do, like get out there. Like I think everyone needs to hear your message in your way. And like, yes, maybe you're saying something that someone else has said hundreds of millions of times, but they're not in the way that you've said it. And I listened to this podcast years ago and it really stuck with me. It's like, you know, no idea is really new, right? Nothing is really new. The concepts are all basically the same, but someone could hear that same concept 5, 10 times from 10 different people, and they hear it from you and it resonates because it's the way you've said it with your experience and your story and your key message. I think sometimes we get so paralyzed and, oh, someone's already talked about that or someone's already said that. Like, we're all saying the same thing anyway. Just scroll TikTok. I like flick through and I hear the same thing, but there's like one thing that captures my attention. It'll be like the same, you know, when massive news breaks and the news just plays the same thing over and over and over. Like in Australia, mainly it's a natural disaster, like a storm coming. You know, we had a terrible tragedy here last year, and the news is just playing the same thing over and over. But you're still listening. You're still, you know, you're still captivated because you you want to hear if there's anything new or like that you hadn't heard in that way, or maybe a different news reporter will come on and say it, and then you thinking about it in a different lens. So like I think
And sometimes you're not ready, right? The first time
exactly.
you hear it, maybe you're not ready. And then luckily somebody says it the 100th time, and that time you're ready.
That
So if
happens to
that
me a
person
lot.
didn't say it, you will have missed it. So sometimes you're just not ready to hear it. That's it.
Exactly that. My coach says that all the time. I thought I told you that 6 months ago. Wasn't ready then. Wasn't ready to listen. Oh my gosh, I love this. This I could talk to you all day, honestly. But we have, I know it's becoming the afternoon for you. I've got a whole day ahead of me. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing. You put a firecracker up me to get motivated and probably be on more podcasts because that is something I haven't focused on this year either. And I know you have motivated everyone listening. So how can people find you? What is your free gift? We'll put it in the show notes. So tell us how people could find you and get a hold of that.
Again, thanks again for having me. And to anyone listening, I appreciate your time because podcast listeners are special people. They are more intentional. They are not just scrolling and reading through posts. They make time, set time aside to listen.
Mm.
So if that's you listening right now, I appreciate you, I appreciate your time. And I hope that you got value from this conversation. And if you did, I would really, really love you to find me on social media, Christelle Biga, same name everywhere. I'm not fancy. I'm Christelle Big everywhere. You just find me there, drop me a DM and let me know what stood out, what you liked, and what you really took away from this conversation. Other than that, you will get the gift that I have for you today. It's a resource that I sell for $27, but for your listeners today, Maria, they will get it
Thank you
for
so
free with
much.
the discount code authority. So they just go and download it. It's a guide that again shows them exactly, teach them everything they need to do about strategic podcast guesting, how to research shows to ensure that they are worth your time and they will get you the results that you want, what to do next, which is where to find a podcast. I have a list of shows there that are ready to be pitched, over 100 in different niches, and a tracking sheet that helps you stay organized, and a pitch kit that shows you how to pitch effectively to get yeses and get accepted even on Maria's podcast. Why not? So yes, it has everything. If you want to get on podcast, you need that resource. So the link's going to be in the description of the show notes, and the discount code again to get it for free is authority. Now, for those who prefer to play on social media, my name is Christelle Biga over there. If you want to check my website out, is exposuremaven.com. EXPOSURREMAVEN.com. So thanks again for having me, and I hope to chat with you soon.
Thank you so much. We'll put all your links in the show notes. So thank you. And that resource sounds so valuable. So I'll put all the description so they can get the discount code and download it. But thank you so much for your time. I've really loved chatting with you. As I said, I could chat with you for another hour or two. Okay, amazing. How did we feel? Do we feel inspired? Because I could talk to her for hours. I felt like her insights were very motivating, very inspiring, and she's so right. You know, we need to look at these different types of medias from earned media, which is your podcast, your PR, to borrowed media, which is your social media, your owned media, which is your email list, your website, and paid media, which is paying for advertising, right? We want to have that balance. We want to have that mixture, and getting on podcasts is a really great way to expand your exposure. And there's so much you can do from it, from a content perspective, from repurposing it on your own page. I have clients that I try to repurpose their podcasts all the time. You know, you can create featured pages on your website, so when people land there, they can see all the podcasts you've been on. I had an amazing client that did this sort of playlist, Spotify playlist of all the episodes that she'd been on, and she can sort of share that as a bit of a portfolio, you know, because of course we're going to edit our own content, we're going to make it how we want, but when you're on someone else's show, they have the control over what they share. So of course that's like the most real and authentic way for people to really get to know you. But I'm keen to hear what you thought of the episode. You know, leave it in the comments if you're on Spotify, leave a rate and review if you're on Apple, and be a content queen or king. And remember that developing your strategy and story develops your business. Thank you so much for joining me today, and please don't forget to share this with all your business and entrepreneurial friends. You can do this by sharing it with them, sending them a link, adding it to Insta stories and tagging me at Content Queen Mariah, or just tell them about it. And if you do leave a rating review, it does help me get amazing guests on the show. They find me in the charts. I must have been in the charts because I'm getting so many emails about podcasts, and so I've got so many exciting guests coming up, so stay tuned for that. And follow me on Insta, TikTok, LinkedIn, all the platforms. Let me know if there are any topics you want to hear about, any guests you want me to get on. Leave me a message. I'd love to make that happen, and I'll see you next week. Bye.